Would you rather fight off one mountain lion cub, like that one in Fort Collins that the dude strangled, or 100 full-grown chickens?
How big is a mountain lion cub? Like, is it Coda size? Like my dog?
Yeah, probably Coda size.
It has to be bigger than that. Is it like Connor's dog size?
Yeah,
like
probably,
Strider?
yeah, exactly. Probably Strider.
Dude, I could fight off a Strider size.
I was gonna say like it's like a preteen cub, so it's got some angst to it.
I think it'd be more fun fighting chickens than it would be a lion.
That's what I was thinking. You might get more fatigue.
Like,
though.
yeah, but dude, like you could tee him up like a kicker in football and just boom, boom.
Well, if you have room to swing, though, you have 100 of them. Like they're gonna be all around you.
Well, okay, let's retract this.
Are you running first, or are you gonna run at them?
Pause. Did you ever play Call of Duty, the zombies?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Did they come at you like waves in zombies?
Oh.
or did they come at you all at once, like level 10?
All at once, for sure.
Do I have something to hide behind? And do I have any like weapons?
You're in the gym. Both situations.
Both
100
situations
chickens in the gym.
100 chickens
or
in
one
the
mountain lion in the gym.
Oh.
Mountain lion cub, not full grown.
I'd rather take the chickens.
Okay.
Because I could open the garage door.
Fair.
And then kind of lead them out. And kind of have like a system where it's like tee off.
One at a time.
Tee off.
Yeah,
as they funnel out the door.
Yeah.
I think that's way more fun. You get to hear chickens flying.
I'd probably choose chickens too.
A mountain lion, they're fast. They're agile.
Got teeth. Chickens, what do they have?
They got teeth and claws.
I bet Yard would know, but what? Do chickens have teeth?
No, chickens have large talons.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
But like they have to be standing on those talons. They can't fly.
Yeah.
Chickens are like pussies, dude.
Yeah. What about their beaks? They bite?
Not if you're kicking them.
Yeah, true.
How tall are they?
Grabbing necks and just swinging them around. I don't know, actually.
And also, you say how big is a full-grown chicken? Like, are we talking like just a regular chicken?
I'm saying, you remember that like that meme of the turkey on steroids?
Yes.
Kind of like those chickens.
So like steroided out Tyson.
Like, yeah, exactly. The Tyson
chicken breast. Yeah, like we're getting like thick, steroid HGH.
Yeah.
I still would rather tee off on those in a mountain lion.
True. Chicken just has lawless weapons. The mountain lion is just, you'd be scraped up.
Yeah, it wouldn't be fun at all. No. Cool. Well, episode number 2, Ironworks Underground Podcast. We're going to build off last week. We're talking about, last week we talked about just kind of training at Ironworks, kind of the day in and day out, what we do in a whole week. We had some people come at us with some questions, wanting us to get into a little bit more detail of, training days, what the training days look like. So we're just going to kind of kick it off into the first day of the week. First day of the week is max effort lower. So I'm going to kind of turn it to Josh here. We're going to talk in terms of like why we do it, what the day is going to look like, the purpose of certain parts of that day, and kind of how it flows. And then we'll just kind of segue out of that into kind of however that topic goes and, specific things on that. So take it away on the max effort.
Max effort. So something that a lot of other coaches are scared to touch. Some sports coaches might hate that we do it, maybe because they don't understand it. For us, I think we put all our eggs in the absolute strength basket, right? So our goal with max effort days, specifically max effort lower, is increase our absolute strength in the lower body. And there's a few reasons why we do this. There's durability. It increases the capacity for power and speed. But another reason is absolute versus relative load, right? So no matter the type of athlete we have, a football player, basketball player, we have a tactical athlete, they have some sort of load that they're dealing with in their sport, right? Or in their day-to-day, whatever task they're doing. So an easy example, think about a fireman, right? He has to carry a 50-pound, 100-pound hose, and that is always going to be that same exact weight, right? So the hose, you might have bigger ones, but it's going to be that same load. And so what we want to do is make that load lighter for them, and one way to do that is increase their absolute strength. Meaning, if they could deadlift 100 pounds before, and we increase that to 200 pounds, Now that 50-pound, what I say it was rope or hose is
hose.
only 25% of their max. It feels lighter, and they can lift it longer. They can carry it farther, right? So that's one main argument. I don't know. Do you want to touch on any of the other main
I think
ones?
on top of that argument, talk about a little bit more like kind of like obviously a lot of people are going to listen to us. Aren't going to be like your day-to-day firefighters, the tactical people. How did that apply to the baseball population that we have in here? And like specifically, what the purpose is behind it, I guess, in the baseball population and what I guess the end goal is, right? We talk about with a lot of coaches, sport coaches, different strength coaches, our end goals are typically the same thing. How we get there is different. How would we get to, say, increasing exit velo, throwing velo? You can even look at like sprint speed or like force development, stuff like that.
Yeah, how I see it is, all these sports, especially with baseball, it's expressions of power, right? You're hitting a ball, you're throwing a ball as fast or as hard as you can. And all the baseball coaches want their dudes to be able to do that better, be able to do that more efficiently, faster. And with baseball, they're traveling year-round, playing year-round, so they're always getting broken down in some way. So if we can increase absolute strength and maintain that strength year-round, we're not only going to be healthier because we can actually handle the repetitions and the loads, we're probably going to be getting better at the task we're doing. Like I said in the last podcast, strength and conditioning is just one piece of the pie. So just like in our training, strength is one piece of the pie that kind of builds on and creates the whole athlete. But it's one of the most important parts to allow these athletes to be able to do the skills they need to do in the best possible way over and over again, right? So like a baseball guy, he's throwing that ball a lot of times throughout the year, especially if they're playing year-round club baseball, right?
Yeah,
so
a lot of times you got these baseball guys, lacrosse guys, basically every sport but football has some sort of year-round club, or they have fall season, winter season, summer ball, and then they have their, like for baseball, they have their spring season with the school. But
yeah, and that's why we need to make sure we're hitting max strength year round, so we keep that absolute strength high. Because if we start getting weaker throughout the season, but the relative load stays the same, so we're dealing with the same thing year round, but we get weaker and weaker because we're not training, then we're going to start getting broken down, and those relative loads, like that 50-pound hose or that ball we're hitting, is going to start breaking us down more. And when people think about max effort lifts, a lot of people think it's going to be, super grindy, dangerous, taxing lifts every single week. And if you're doing it wrong, that's what it's going to look like. But the way we do max effort lifts and the way it's not just us, right? It's not just saying Ironwolf is the only people that do this, but, the people that, kind of share our own mindset and the framework that we use. We're able to do max effort lifts every single week because we do it in a super controlled, safe manner, and we're also changing the stimulus every week, right? So there's not a lot of adaptation, like not a lot of
adaptation.
Yeah, adaptation, right? So it's not getting used to the stimulus, not overtraining those muscles. We're changing the stimulus by changing the bar type. Maybe we're changing the box height, changing the type of the lift, right? So especially if I have a guy in season, the way I'm going to hit a max effort lift is going to look different in season versus out of season. In season, we might pull off the blocks to decrease the total range of the lift so it's not as stressful, right? But out of season, maybe I'll have him pull from a deficit so it's more stressful to try to get, more of an overload going in the off season. So we're kind of playing with the same principles as other coaches use. We're just doing it in a way where year round we're confident that we can hit a max effort lift to increase and keep that absolute strength year round.
I think the biggest thing with max effort and really how we train is how we're year round able to have our guys be like at their peak, or close to it, so where they're ready, day in, day out, week to week, month to month. A kid could, come up to a situation where it's like, oh, I got a camp to go to. There's not going to be any situation to worry about having to get ready because these guys are ready 52 weeks out of the year. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's going to be situations where, there is probably some deload we have to worry about, going into, say, a season, or going into like, oh, we got a 6-game tournament this weekend. Okay, well, maybe we need to back it down. Maybe it becomes, less accessories. Maybe it becomes less volume. And, when we talk about volume, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, if we talk about volume, we're thinking the amount of weight lifted multiplied by the reps,
The
right?
reps, yep.
Yeah. So, we're trying to keep their work capacity up while bringing their workload or volume down, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I think that's one big key in what we're doing is focusing around making sure these guys are ready to go all day, every day, week to week, month to month, year to year. And then obviously in the max effort day, we have the main lifts, and then we go into kind of like our specialized work, what we call accessories. So if you want to touch on that a little bit and kind of what that looks like for like, our guys on like a Monday.
Yeah. Yeah. To lead into that, I also want to point out, like, you threw out that formula, right? And a lot of what we do here we're not just throwing stuff down on paper. And honestly, that's what I used to do in the beginning of my career. But now I feel like we're way more dialed in. I have a framework I use. I have a lot of other coaches, or we have a lot of other coaches at other gyms we're friends with that, we all communicate. We try to build something that is, evidence-based, scientific, right? So for max effort day, when I'm building that out, my main lift, my goal ultimately is to hit 1 to 4 singles at or above 90% of someone's 1 rep max. Because that's the stimulus I need to target strength and to promote strength. Now, as I work into the accessories, I'm going to use the knowledge I took from the max effort lift. For example, if I have a guy doing max bench, and say we're at a point where we can start failing a lift safely, right? So he's benching, about to go for a PR, and the bar starts fading towards his face. That tells me that his triceps are the weakest part of his upper body right now, right? He got it off his chest, so his upper back is pretty strong, but he failed when he got to the triceps. So now when I'm organizing the rest of the lift, I'm going to address his triceps first, right? So for me as a coach, that helps me move right into the next thing without, that's kind of the information I use or I choose to use as a preference. So we'll probably do some sort of superset there to target the weakest muscle group. Like I said, was triceps. And then from there, we go to second weakest muscle group. And then after that, that's really where it depends on the athlete's volume outside of what we're doing in the weight room, right? So if they're an in-season athlete, maybe that's the end of the workout and we just hit recovery. If they're an out-of-season athlete, maybe we hit more sleds, do a little bit more conditioning. Really is going to depend on the day. But that's just like a basic build-out of a max effort day.
On top of that, when we're talking about the way that day builds out, right, we look at how that translates to the field. Mm-hmm. We talk about weak points in the weight room, and say somebody's weak in their posterior chain, so like hamstrings or glutes or low back, right? We can point that out here in the weight room. Now, how does that translate to the field? Okay, so somebody in a sprint, right? We take off in a sprint. Okay, they're powerful, but from the weight room side of things, we know there's a breakdown in that chain. And we think of the chain as like your back, your ass, your hamstrings, your calves, literally the entire backside. Yeah, the entire backside. So posterior chain, right? And so in the gym, in the weight room, we can see, okay, well, there's a breakdown of power here, of strength here. That translates over to the field as in, okay, well, the hamstrings are firing properly, the glutes are firing properly, but the back's weak. So now you have a breakdown of power or a breakdown of a way to develop force on the field and like an acceleration. Mm-hmm. So we increase that strength in here. We fix that weakness in here through our specialized or accessories, right? That now becomes another strength that kid has. They're strong all through the backside. Boom, their 10-yard sprint drops from, I'm just going to throw a number out, 1.8 to 1.72, whatever it may be. Their 40 drops. Their home to first drops because now we're building a positioning through the backside of the body to where they can develop force through every single part of the chain.
Exactly.
Right. And so when we look at like the display of what they do on the field, we're looking at like the display of like force, rate of force development. How fast can something produce force? That's basically acceleration, right? So if we can get them to be stronger through their entire chain in the weight room, boom, they're getting quicker on the field. On top of our, technique work, when we look at like, our sprint work, our basic stuff that we do in the gym, everything's kind of based around building the foundation to attack, their entire training, but attacking weak points to improve like their transference effect to the field.
Yeah. And we're doing it in an efficient way, right? So we're not, some coaches rely on doing sport-specific movements. And while it has its place, I think I take pride in the fact that we do things in a very efficient way where we're trying to get to the root of the problem. Like you said, we're attacking the weak link in the posterior chain so that now they can go perform whatever skill they're trying to perform better, right? And we handled our job as strength coaches, and now they can go learn this skill better. I feel like we're trying to just pound this point in the ground, but I feel like it's so important that people don't realize that they're not doing things as efficiently or as as simple as they could, and they're trying to make everything as extra and as great as possible, when really that might be hindering the athlete's development.
Oh, I totally agree. I think one breakdown that the sports world, the athlete world, the strength and conditioning sport world, right, that we have is the connection between the sport coaches and the strength speed guys, right? The sport coaches need to kind of stay in their path and do what they do and communicate with us. We need to kind of stay on our path and do what we do, right? We can, the whole term like sport specific, you guys need to be doing sport specific training. Okay, well, all the hamstrings we do, all the glute stuff we do. Okay, where does the speed come from on the field?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that muscle group develops the speed on the field. So if we're not developing a foundation or a base of strength in here, your athlete's going to look like shit on the field.
Yeah.
And if, you're telling us, or like, people are seeing all this shit on Instagram, the flashy stuff, that shit's not going to do anything for you. Standing on BOSU balls, not going to do shit. Ladders, great for like some ankle mobility, like prep warm-up stuff. But when in a game or on the field, are you going to have to do an icky shuffle from home to first?
Yeah.
Or, and it may be a little different for a football guy. A football guy, they could do it. They could hit some sort of move on a field that looks similar to the ladder drill, but again, doesn't necessarily apply to.
Well, it's a tool, right? So it's not something you build your entire program off of. Right?
Yeah,
So maybe
exactly.
we might throw that in a program for a very specific reason, and we might have all these other reasons not to do it. But if we still have a couple reasons to do it, then it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's just all about why are we doing what we're doing and being able to defend that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll be. It's funny. I contradict myself when it comes to the ladder. I fucking hate the ladder, but we'll go out on the field and I'll let my guys go through your basic ladder warm up because I'm kind of getting their bodies prepped to move, right? When you look at like movement on a field, right, and we talk about sport specific, okay, things can get sport specific when we're talking about speed and agility training, right? We do, mostly strength work. Our base is there. We build a bit of base of like movement work, but when it comes to like the progression of like a speed day or like a movement day, because we all do it here in the gym as well. We start super basic, getting more. I don't want to say sport specific, but we get more specific to what a movement looks like on a field, right? So you may start your guy off on a ladder. That's just kind of getting their body prepped to move. Then you may go move to a banded A skip, a banded high knee run, a banded sprint. Then that's going to translate over to regular A skips, a regular sprint. Okay, then we start teaching deceleration. We got to go through like a heavy foot or monster walk first. Then we got to start speeding it up. And then we got to bring our speed day, our acceleration work with our deceleration work. But it becomes a linear movement day, right? So athletes do it on the field all the time. Now, is it going to look exactly what they do in the sport? Probably not.
Well, and that's exactly how I program is general to specific, right? So some dudes I might take to a field 2 times a week because they're ready for that. Some guys need to spend way more time in the weight room to be strong enough to perform the movements we want them to perform. But there's a piece of it when you started bringing up that, you run all your guys through the ladder. Like, we got to think about buy-in, right? Like, these are still human beings and athletes and kids, right, that want to do certain things because they see them online. So, like,
Yeah.
I throw a lot of random stuff in there. Not random, right? I have reasons for it, but it's things that they care about and they want to do. Like, kids love to bench press. So, like, all right, we can bench press today, right? We bench press all the time. But maybe they like doing it a certain way. So there's a point where you need to compromise and make sure that the intent is there, because if they like what they're doing, then they're going to try harder and get better results, right? So we're obviously balancing a lot of different aspects since we're working with humans and we're coaching humans and not just, a football player and not just a basketball player.
Well, I think on top of that, I talked to a parent not too long ago. It's like, what are we going to do lacrosse-wise? Well, I can't remember her name. I'm not going to name names, but like, so-and-so, our goal is to build athletes, right? We want everybody to be able to go out there and perform as high as possible. Now, we can do some sport-specific type movement stuff. We can do some stuff that's going to help them on the field, but we're not always going to be like, hey, go grab your stick.
Yeah, if you want that, go to lacrosse practice.
I mean, literally, go to lacrosse practice.
I don't know shit about lacrosse.
Like,
you don't want me coaching lacrosse.
Yeah, Josh, you might not want coaching lacrosse. Rugby, though, he'd probably be able to do a little bit with. But, like, what we do in here is make athletes, make athletes better athletes. Our goal is to, our mission is to elevate the game of athletes to the next level, right? So we're gonna come in. You're gonna become an athlete if you're not an athlete. We're gonna treat everybody as an athlete, and we're gonna develop athletes. Athlete. I was just thinking that as I walked through that.
And the thing is, we say athlete, and it's like this intimidating word, but I think what I like to, somehow focus more on is applying our principles of training to everybody. Because, my girlfriend says I'm not an athlete anymore. I kind of consider myself an athlete, but I think it's just because of how I train. Like, I train this way not because I have all these lofty goals, but because it's literally the most simple way to stay fit and healthy.
Well, you look at our world, and like people hit the age of 20 or they retire from playing sports, and then it's like, what's your training? Mm-hmm. You go to the gym and stare at yourself in the mirror. I see it at Lifetime every single day, right? You see it at commercial gyms every single day. So it's like, why do we stop training to be athletes? You still have to do this stuff. Like the Max Schmarzo, I don't know how to say his last name. He's the Strong by Science guy. Mm-hmm. He always posts about like, why are you going and playing in rec leagues and you're training like a bodybuilder without the intent to ever go be a bodybuilder? Your intent is to go play with dads on Sunday at the neighborhood basketball court.
Well, yeah, the best thing about being an athlete is being able to just run out and go do it whenever.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And not having to you could literally go out and just do it without even thinking about it. And so you could look at this from an athlete, like an actual athlete, like field sport athlete type of view, to your general age adult athlete, where it's like, you know what, you just want to have a better quality of life and just keep things rolling. So like, should you train max effort? Yeah. Modified? Maybe. Yeah. Should you do dynamic effort? Yeah. Modified? Maybe. Yeah. Should you jump still? Yeah, probably. Can you jump very high? Maybe not. Could you dunk? Probably. Maybe. I don't know.
It's all relative, right?
It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're going to come in and be an athlete. We're going to make you an athlete. I'm sorry if your vert's 3 inches. We can make it 10, but probably still not dunking then, unfortunately. But
we were talking to Bo last night, and he was saying like people want to label him as some type of coach, right? And I kind of connect to that because like he was saying, we're just a coach, right? We coach humans. We're not one specific type of coach. At least I'm not, right? Maybe some people are like a basketball coach, football coach, whatever. But I just coach humans to reach whatever physical goals they want to reach. And we just have a framework that we're able to do that. And we just happen to like to train athletes, so we kind of try to train athletes.
I mean, if I had an adult come in, it would be kind of a matter of some time on assessing where they're at, and then, you know what, we're going to get after it and train this exact same way. Yeah. There's no reason not to. You could, I was talking to, or I was not talking. That would be sick if I was talking to Dave Tate. So I was listening to Dave Tate. For you guys that don't know who Dave Tate is, he owns Elite FTS. Big strength guy. He's great on social media. Hilarious. Great power lifter. West Side conjugate guy. So Dave and his buddy Sam, he works for Elite FTS as well. They do the podcast together. And Sam was saying how if in a perfect world, when you're training people, if you could have somebody come in and train on their own for 6 days and just watch what they do and how they move and what they do, you could learn more about them in that week than you would training them for 1 day as a consult. Yeah. Because you're able to see, how they move, their flow through a workout, their flow through a session, what their typical, day looks like, and then how it kind of formulates itself throughout the week. And then you can come in and be like, okay, well, not necessarily you would say this, but you can come in and say oh, well, you suck at this. Oh, you so-and-so, this hurts, totally. Whatever it may be. Okay, this is how we're going to formulate our plan. I mean, when an athlete comes into us, we do 1 session with them, but it still takes, what did you say, 2 to 3 weeks to really start to kind of get to know the kid and the athlete and start to kind of see where their weak points are. I mean, sometimes you see somebody walking and it's holy shit, he needs to learn how to do this he needs to learn how to walk before he does anything else. But
well, that's the first thing I do with an athlete when they come in is I start the process of letting them express however they naturally move, right? Because especially with younger athletes, so it might come in a little uptight, right? They're kind of feeling awkward, being in a new environment, maybe nervous. Never trained before, especially people who have never been in a gym before. They're not moving freely in a way, right? So I try to make them super comfortable and then get them to a point where, yeah, maybe I give them a few cues, but now it's just you moving and you reacting to what I say, me figuring out how to communicate with you. And I think that's something that, a lot of coaches could get better at, even myself, all of us, is like communicating efficiently with your athletes in a way that they understand, because every athlete's different. And it starts from the first eval, because if you can communicate from the first bit, you're going to be able to know their weaknesses a lot faster. You're going to be able to get on track together a lot faster. So I think that's like a skill, maybe a whole podcast we could talk about, just how to communicate with your athletes.
And I mean, even beyond just the athlete-coach communication, athlete, like depending on the age of the athlete, even doesn't really matter. Who do they interact with? Okay, so like parents, communicate with the parents. If a parent notices something off, okay, that's probably something to talk about, because sometimes the kid's not going to tell you.
Yeah.
As many times as you ask. And even, do you know their sport coach? Do you know their lacrosse coach? Do you know their baseball coach? Can you have a conversation with them? Yeah. Because then it starts to get like a nice little communication circle of this is going on, this is going on, this is how we're going to fix it. This is going on, this is going on, this is going on. And then, there could be a situation where the coach finds something out that the parents don't know, and the parent comes to you and it's like, hey, do you know anything about this situation or why this might be happening? And then we have the answers to it.
And honestly, my most successful athletes are going to be kids whose parents text me like every couple of weeks, like, hey man, how's it going? So-and-so just happened, checking on how they're doing. Is there anything I could do? Because once you have that parent bought in and supporting the kid, it's huge. And it makes your job a lot easier, because now that channel of communication is, a lot more smoother, but it's also enforced in a way, right? Like the parent cares and is going to keep their kid accountable, which is awesome.
Well, and it's great when the parents are reaching out, because they obviously are wanting to be involved in the training aspect and their sports life and what they're doing. But they're not involved to the point where they're like hanging around, like hovering, which is great. Cause like, obviously, at least from my perspective as an athlete back in the day, I hated when like my dad would show up. Like, love my dad, but like always kind of had this like weird, like somebody's watching me feeling when somebody was like watching me at practice or something, and it killed me. But
that'll probably be me, honestly.
Watching kids at practice?
No, strength coach. Watching my kid's strength coach, make sure he's doing a good job. If I'm not training him for some reason, I always think about that.
I mean, it'd probably be hard to train your own kid, like in general, just because like they're not going to listen to you. My brothers don't listen to me.
Yeah.
My brother literally tried to explain something to me on TikTok and then tried to argue against what I knew. And I'm like, Brayden, I literally went to school for this. I have a degree in this. I've been doing it for, I think, almost 7 years now.
TikTok is fact these days, though. People love TikTok.
Yeah. Well, my favorite is when I have lacrosse players come to me and say, well, on TikTok, this guy tried telling me I should switch this up. And I'm like, no.
Have you tried that pre-workout one where you like put salt in your pre-workout? And
no, who told you that? I mean, we were talking about like a week ago.
Yeah, all the guys were talking about that. I don't know.
What is the point behind that?
No idea.
Oh.
I should know. I think it gets more helps you uptake water. Doesn't salt do that,
yeah.
Right? If you add salt, gives you a bigger pump. Right?
I mean, it's like that's basically what electrolytes is. It's just like sodium.
Exactly. Like you're hydrating yourself. Good job.
Yeah. Oh, it's because it gives you more of a pump because your body's holding more water.
Yeah.
Creatine. Yeah. So I think that's good. I think we can close it out on that one.
Yeah.
Do we have any sponsorship plugs?
When is that new Ironwolf flavor coming in? We should try it on the podcast.
I have it here right now. We should have tried it today.
Let's just give it a taste.
We have nothing to mix it in. It's fine. Anyhow, yeah. So new Ironwolf flavor, black cherry. This is the first time actually like telling anybody about this really like more publicly.
Just leaked it.
Josh is leaking flavors.
That's gonna be the headline: leaking.
So we got black cherry dropping probably within. I don't have a definitive date right now. I would say within the next 2 months, we will have black cherry online, and in stores and in the gym.
You have creatine right now?
Yeah, so creatine's online, creatine's in the gym, creatine's in the stores. We got it in 2 stores. Nutrition Company, Westminster, Nutrition Company in Denver. The Westminster one's basically in Broomfield. It's off of 120th and Sheridan for you Broomfield guys, and for you Denver guys, it's Hamden and I-25 and girls. But yeah, so those 2 stores. Tell them that Christian and Bryce sent you to those stores because they know us pretty well and they'll hook you up. But yeah, so we got the creatine out. Hoping to get some protein on the market here in the next few months.
Hey, you guys should like ring in or however.
Ring in? What do we got a phone?
Yeah. 720-879-2493. Ring in. Which is better, chocolate or vanilla protein powder? No mixers. Straight up.
You can
water and milk.
actually just hit us on the Ironworks text line, 720-505-4531.
Really? Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yes.
Let us know.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate or vanilla? Because we have an argument going in the gym right now. I think vanilla is a better option for everybody.
And he is wrong. So
Well, it's easier to mix.
I know. No
everything.
mixers.
You can
I'm
mix
saying
it in
no mixers.
everything.
Straight up taste.
Oh, well, chocolate. I lost. It's fine. But let us know what you want on the Ironworks text line. Talk to you later. Stay hard.
Have a great day.